Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, soon to be joined here by Rob, which is how you know that Rob's running late, because I'm on time. It's always a running joke here, as obviously Rob is definitely the one who has some Coughlin time issues at times here, and he always tries to blame it on me. So you know, because he's late, and here I am. But guys, we got a lot of news to go over with you. A lot of stuff came in over the weekend here. We got a couple of draft picks signing. We got more rankings going on among some of the best players on the Giants roster there. There's also a rumor been floating around about the Giants potentially, they should be interested potentially in someone that is up for trade. I'll disagree with that, but we'll go over that in a little bit there. We got Deion Sanders talking about Shedeur and the meetings with the Giants. I thought that was going to be over with, but apparently they will not let sleeping dogs lie. And OBJ whining and complaining as usual. And then we're going to finish that up with something we thought would be a little fun to do here. It's now 25 years into this millennium here of the Giants history here. So that'll be fun to do top 10 players from the last 25 years for the Giants here. I'm sure it'll probably get to a point where some people might be a little upset at some people we do or do not include. Also, of course, where they're ranked, because we will be ranking them. We'll do 1 through 10. I did include a couple honorable mentions just because I know someone's going to complain about a couple people there, but we did go through that as well. So we'll kick it off here. And like I said, Rob should be on here just a couple minutes here, as I already do see here in the comments section there with Jay asking, where's Bob? Rob will be on in just a moment there. He's getting through Clinton with this as well. What's up, man? All right. So, hold on here. Step says Bob is with Rob. I knew what he meant. And then Jay says, who's your favorite Giant of all time? It's got to be LT. So he doesn't qualify for it, obviously, because he didn't play in that time frame. But LT, by far, I mean, I was blessed to be just old enough to watch the GOAT, the greatest defensive player of all time. I mean, you can question the whole Tom Brady and him thing. And obviously, Tom Brady's got the rings. But to me, there's not a single question on who is the greatest defensive player to ever play the position, and it's Lawrence Taylor. So, he says you were like a baby when he played. Come on. I wasn't a baby. I was baby during the beginning of his career. I was a kid when he played. Don't get me wrong, but I still was able to watch it. I still remember watching it and play at that point. Not that I can analyze like a kind of game nowadays, but you can go back and watch it. But just absolutely amazing player. So anyway, let's get to the news we got here today. So we start off with, we got more of the rookies that are signing their deal. That's a big thing. We want these guys in camp here. So Jaxson Dart, that's the big one there, has signed his deal. Fully guaranteed, 4 years, $16.977 million. Absolutely insanity when you consider the fact we've been paying $40 million a year for Daniel Jones. And then Jaxson Dart is going to get less than half of that in 4 years. I think it's safe to say that this is a good swap overall. So, obviously everything's fully guaranteed, being a first-round pick there. But just glad to see him signed, so he's ready to go for camp when that starts there. Also signed is third-round pick Darius Alexanders, the defensive tackle from Toledo that we got. 4-year deal there as well. As all rookie deals are 4-year deals, $6.762 million. Has a signing bonus of $1.557 million. So, he's got some money there as well there. So, cue the parents getting bought a house videos. And 1, 2, it's going to happen. You know it. But listen, I love when it does happen. That's great. You should support the people that supported you all throughout there. But again, just glad both these guys are going to be able to go ahead and start, right away in camp when that opens up. Obviously, when it comes to OTAs, rookie mini camps, and that kind of stuff, their teams don't really care too much about that stuff. They sign waivers, all that kind of stuff, and just figure it out as they go. But when it boils down to it, again, to start actual training camp that's when you got the people that'll sit out and stuff like that, except that moron in Cincinnati being morons and all the morons all around in that whole scenario. Otherwise, it's all pretty simple, cut and dry there. Let's see here. Jay says those rookie contracts still are less than they were before they were slotted them 15 years ago, which is nuts if you think about it. I mean, yeah, I mean, absolutely insane. I mean, I don't believe Abdul Carter has signed yet, but if you go back to Sam Bradford, I think was the last of the big contracts, if I remember right. His was 6 years, $78 million, $50 million guaranteed. Yeah, so that's yeah, that's definitely big time money there. So real quick before we get to the next one, Jay also asked, this is like questionnaire today. I love it. Go for it, man. It says, who is your favorite content creator, Drew? And listen, favorite Giants content creator is definitely Bobby Skinner, who we do hope to have on the show. I've been talking to him. We should have him on the show actually next week or two, hopefully. A friend of the show, as Jay loves when I say that. But no, seriously, all around good guy. Told the story before, he helped us out when we first were getting started up there. Has on her show as well. But listen, good stuff. And quite frankly, again, not trying to bash what's going on with Talking Giants because I have no ill will towards Justin, though I will not watch anything with with John Boy Media in general because of what they did to Bobby. But look at the numbers. It just shows you. I mean, he's got literally, I can tell you because I can see numbers that you don't necessarily have access to without paying for different programs. That Giants Nation, Bobby Skinner's new show is literally 3 times the view that Talking Giants has because he's really good. So he says, Florida Giants content creators United. That's a lot of us. That's the scary part. That's a lot of us. And there's some of them guys that actually stopped doing shows, and I know they were in Florida as well, but there's definitely a few that do live in the Florida area there. He says, yeah, there were like 10 times people watching Skinner's draft show. I'm sure. Like I said, he's good at what he does. He's entertaining. He knows football, and he brings a different point of view that I feel like than most people do. Quite frankly, that's legit. I mean, so like I said, we will not ever bash any content creators when we can help it. I'll put it that way. But we won't go out of our ways to talk good about ones unless we honestly feel they're good. Bobby Skinner's legit. Bobby Skinner's good. All right, let's get back to the news here. So got Eli Manning giving advice there to Jaxson Dart, and love to see that. Again, these guys obviously have a relationship from their days in Ole Miss. But yeah, there's been some public statements now that Eli's been saying. He said, I told him, hey, I'm here to help it anyway. I'm a phone call away, a text away, but I'm not getting in the way. You've got to figure out this is your journey. This is your deal. But if there's anything you need, happy to be here. So, that's I love that, first off. You see people all the time kind of latch on to younger players as if it's like the second coming of their career. Like Jaxson Dart can't be Eli Manning. We talked about this before as far as Abdul Carter can't be Micah Parsons. He needs to be Abdul Carter. It's the same kind of thing here with Jaxson Dart. Like, let's be honest, the references are there because of the school they went to and the team that drafted them now. But Jaxson Dart is not Eli Manning. He does not play like Eli Manning. They have completely different styles. Eli Manning was also a much higher touted prospect coming out of Ole Miss than Jaxson Dart is. So Jaxson Dart's got to do Jaxson Dart. He's got to play his way. And at the same point, he's got to play the way that fits the offense that Brian Daboll does, which is a completely different offense than what Kevin Gilbride did back in the day with Eli Manning. So, there's definitely, like I said, it's smart words on his part there. He also says, it sounds like he's doing that with the Giants. Every day you're going to learn something and you're going to make mistakes. That's just part of it. But learning from those mistakes, not repeating those mistakes. And it seems like he's just trying to be there, earn the respect of his teammates and his coaches through his hard work. And definitely love to see, because you do hear a lot of people saying that he is a hard worker. He also said, I've been to some practice that I've known Jaxson for the last 3 years since he's been at Ole Miss and gotten to watch his career. So I've been just impressed with Jaxson because I've seen him get better every single year. And that's just what you want your players to do, to make improvements, even though you're playing well, not being content and wanting to make those improvements every day. So I've kind of seen that. Again, Love to see it. Love to see support ex-Giants to current Giants. Again, we would be remiss not to mention the fact that obviously this is very similar verbiage to a certain degree that Daniel Jones got when he got drafted as well. Obviously, a little bit different of a perspective because Daniel Jones was a teammate of Eli Manning's, but Eli said a lot of nice things about him coming out as well. And obviously, we all know how that panned out. So I don't want to get my hopes up because Eli said nice things. Of course, this guy is going to be great. Like, obviously, that's not the case, but, he's got potential. He's got a whole lot more potential now at this point in his career, especially than Daniel Jones does, that they had to make the move. And I do like the attitude, as Deb says that she likes his attitude and that he's a dog there. I do like the attitude he's giving, and I do think that you're going to see the first time he goes for a run and takes a hit. First off, we're going to go, because you don't want him getting hurt. But the first time you see a hit and you see all the guys around him just fired up, listen, again, we don't want to beat the dead horse and bring down Daniel Jones more because, quite frankly, he tried. I mean, I know it's a hard thing to say, as a fan, as somebody who supports a team, he did try. So, it takes more than just trying. It takes more than just going ahead and, running into people, because Daniel Jones did that as well. What we need to see is him throwing with anticipation, reading defenses, knowing how to go through his progressions and see who's open. These are things we need to see. And we're not going to see it, guys. Let's be very frank, until he gets out there in preseason. And even then, he's going to do it against backups. So, unfortunately, much of this year is going to be probably an enigma for him. But I like what I've seen so far. And you guys know that I've watched the show. I wasn't high on him coming out of college. I didn't like him too much going into the draft. I even said point blank he was Daniel Jones 2.0. I'll call myself out and say it. Obviously, I have seen more now of him as a person in meetings and see the attitude and stuff you can't see ahead of it. But as I see Jay say that he sold on him. I'm not saying I'm going to sold on Dart. I'm sold on the potential of Dart, which I never was anti that, because I did say second round I thought for him. But so it's a little early, but you got the 5th-year deal and you have to make sure you got him. So I don't hate the move at all. Like I said, I like it. But Jay says I am sold on Dart. I know it's all team hype, but he seems like a cool kid. He does 100%. Like I said, as a person, I'm 100% sold on him. As a leader, I'm 100% sold on him. I think that's definitely there. But again, that wasn't also the issue with Daniel Jones. So I got to see more than that to get on board fully. Deb says Charlie Weiss spoke of meeting Dart as his son worked with him at Ole Miss. Weiss said his first question was, what is the difference between a good QB and a great QB? Charlie liked that question. JL says Dable wanted him at 3. Is that true? So, listen, we'll never know fully if that's true, Jay. From what I hear, there was definitely some motion into the room that Dable wanted this kid bad. I don't know that he wanted him bad enough to go ahead and make that kind of move at 3. I think that would have been a reach and a half, ridiculous. And I think the way that we did do it in the draft, I think the way that Joe Shane pulled this off was spectacular. Get the best player that you could at pick 3. Don't reach for a player and go back in and get him when it's more of a appropriate time to get him. Because as much as I said a minute ago, I thought he was a second-round pick kind of guy. Getting the quarterback that you want is always worth moving up a little bit before, especially again to get that 5th-year option. So, like I said, I don't know how badly he wanted him at 3. I've heard rumors that he wanted him at 3. Probably the same rumors you're hearing as well there. But I'd like to hope that he wouldn't be that desperate, because that'd be pretty bad. Take a kid at 3 that, quite frankly, we took him at the top spot. You probably should have, to be honest, just based on what you have in college. So, all right, let's talk about some rankings here. So, PFF's been doing their series on ranking best players at each position there. So, we got to go over now Andrew Thomas and where he ranks amongst tackles. Really interesting case there for him, because obviously Andrew Thomas is by far the best offensive lineman the Giants have. He is potentially one of the best offensive linemen in the entire NFL when he's healthy. But that's the key part. When he's healthy, and he's just never healthy. On the write-up, they said Thomas first, he was ranked 15th overall in the NFL amongst offensive tackles. Now, keep in mind, offensive tackles, not left tackles. So you got 64 you're competing against. So not too shabby, really, as far as your rating, especially considering the health issues. Their write-up said Thomas would rank significantly higher if he was able to stay healthy. However, the Georgia product has logged less than 1,000 combined snaps over the past 2 seasons. 32 NFL offensive tackles played more than 1,000 snaps in 2024 alone. After ranking third amongst offensive tackles with a 90.3 PFF overall grade in his last full season in 2022, Thomas has failed to break into the top 15 in each of his past 2 short seasons. Yeah, this is definitely, like I said, an issue. Like, point blank, it's an issue. And, I've heard some people even suggest that if he can't stay healthy this year, that it might be time to move on. And, it's crazy talk when you think about it, but part of me says they're not wrong. I mean, at what point do you go, you know what? We got to figure this out, guys. And if you notice, the Giants made some moves, and they moved with Brian Burns' contract to make some rookie signings there. Well, when they did that, they didn't even talk about making a move for Andrew Thomas, at least publicly. And he's got an obvious contract that you can maneuver money around on. So it's absolutely insane to me that we're at this point here, but we kind of are. Now, looking it up here, I got over the cap out in front of me here. In 26, we would still lose money if we cut him. 27 would be the first year we can cut him and save a significant amount of cash, actually. We'd have a $4.6 million cap hit with $18.5 million being saved. So, yeah, he's probably safe the next 2 years, guys. And I think it's crazy to get rid of a guy that quickly when, A, it doesn't make sense money-wise, and B, you got nobody else to replace him. Look what happened when he leaves, guys. This line goes horribly wrong. And it's interesting how we talk about, 2022, it was Daniel Jones' best year, and Saquon Barkley came back to life, and blah, blah, blah. But, Andrew Thomas is not talked about in that same sentence for some reason. I don't know why. Like, Andrew Thomas, you could say, is potentially a good reason why the offense worked in 22. Look what's happened since he's been injured. Look at what happened, like I said, this year when he got hurt. We went from having an average offensive line to like the worst in the NFL pretty much. And we know other people obviously get injured. I mean, by the time this whole season was over last year, it was backups everywhere basically except for Greg Van Roten and Jermaine Illuminor. But Andrew Thomas might be not getting enough credit for what he provides when he's healthy when you compare the two scenarios, with him or without him. And I'm hoping this is the year he can stay healthy and we can see again what a dominant player he is when he's healthy. And I'm hoping, to be honest, also the injuries haven't changed him. Sometimes you come back from big injuries, you're not the same player. We see it all the time in football. And like I said, he's got a decent-sized contract for the next couple of years. So, like I said, hopefully he's good to go. But he's safe for 2 years probably. And to a certain degree, I'm glad for that because it gives us the chance to know for sure that he is healthy there. So, I guess we got a couple of comments on the Andrew Thomas scenario here. Let's see here. As Jay says, availability, the best availability. I'm talking about Rob too. Oh, leave Rob alone. He says they have to draft offensive line in the first round next year for sure. And yeah, that's probably what they're going to do, to be honest with you. They're probably going to end up drafting offensive line in the first round next year based on how things are right now. If I had to place a bet on, that's what I'd place a bet on. Ryan said, heard that there's some competition on the offensive line this year. There definitely is, but not nearly, Ryan, as a big competition as there is for a left tackle. Like, that's the one spot where it's like, if Andrew Thomas isn't healthy, we're screwed basically. So, we definitely have people they've signed for swing tackle, Ryan, but not a starting left tackle. And it's guys who were swing tackles that, quite frankly, didn't perform great when they had to perform. So hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully he's good to go. And Jason's Liz Frank is a big deal. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right. let's get on. Oh, we got 1 second here. He says also we need some dirtbags on the offensive line. Enough of finesse guys. Yeah, we listen. I hate to use the old Washington term, but we need some hogs in there. We need some big old guys that just move and push the pile, or create a wall. Depending on pass or run, obviously, but that's what we need. All right, we got one more guy to talk about. As Dib says, offensive line next year and need another receiver. We might get another receiver here soon. They're still talking to Gabe Davis. And they want to talk about it as a full-on segment here, but they are still talking to him and keeping in touch with him. He's actually coming back from a injury himself, so they're keeping an eye on him. It sounds like that's actually what's preventing him from signing with the team right now. Ronald said, I think Neal will work out as a guard, a lot easier to cover the speed guys. I think he'll work out as a guard, too, because he has trouble staying that edge. Speed or power. He just has trouble staying that edge. But then are you just covering him up and asking too much of a tackle? So we're going to find out. But he's going to get a chance to guard this year, that's for sure. All right, we got one more topic here real quick, and then we're going to get on to our break here. So we got to talk about Dexter Lawrence because the rankings came out as well for Dexter Lawrence here. And actually, real quick before we do that, we got Jay gifted 5 2 Giant Goofballs memberships. And I guess Jay, that's really generous of you. I don't know, to be honest, I didn't know you can do that. You can do the gifting of memberships. That's kind of cool. See, I'm learning something from Jay. So Jay, feel free to put in the comments for people that want to actually, take you up on that very generous offer, how to get that. Because to be honest, again, that's all new to me. But definitely thank you very much for doing that, man. That's awesome. All right, let's get into Dexter Lawrence here, because is he really the second best? Like, is he the second best tackle in the NFL? I mean, we always talk about as the best nose tackle, but PFF again did their rankings on the defensive tackles now, and they ranked him second. They said Lawrence logged only 550 snaps in 2024 due to some missed time, but he recorded an 89.0 plus PFF overall grade, 89.9 for the third season in a row. His 1.07 PFF WAR over the past 3 years sits only behind Chris Jones at the position. And Chris Jones, by the way, is the guy who they gave number 1 overall to defensive tackle. And listen, if you're going to do a defensive tackle, ranking, those two are 1 and 2, I think, pretty much everybody. But the question is, which one goes 1, which one goes 2? And listen, just based on last year, the dominance that Dexter Lawrence was on before that, and don't get me wrong, he's been really dominant the last 2 years prior to that last year as well. But last year, he was a different Dexter Lawrence on an absolute tear. And you know what the main difference I give him between him and Chris Jones? And it's not like me trying to be a homer right now, guys. I've talked to you guys before about, rankings, and I don't automatically put Giants ahead. To be honest, I'm sometimes a little more negative than most Giants fans. I put him above Chris Jones because you know why? 2 reasons. One, Chris Jones plays with a lot of talent on defense. That is a lot of times often the best defense, as a top 5, top 10 defense, I should say, in the NFL there. Not even the best, but it's up there always. And they have a lot of talent around him. And the Giants, you can't really say have been doing that for Dexter Lawrence too much. You got Bobby Okereke, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns last year. But it's not like he's been, tons and tons of really good players around there. I mean, they've had a really good secondary even for Kansas City for years. And they just seem to keep losing people and replace them having no problem. Giants haven't had that for the defense there. Dexter Lawrence has had to be that guy to beat. He's taken double, triple teams left and right. Chris Jones is the focus of the defensive line for Kansas City. I'm not trying to take that away from him. But I think it's a difference of the talent level that the two have that are helping each other out. Then you throw in the difference of the fact that, Chris Jones obviously has Steve Spagnuolo. As Giant fans, we're all very familiar with Spags and what he can do. He was obviously the coordinator for some years for the Giants, twice actually, including actually was interim head coach for the Giants for a little bit as well. And look at what he did with the players he had. That defensive line pass rush that won us Super Bowls, That first one, especially Strahan, OC, Justin Tuck. Yeah, great names. Don't get me wrong, but great names that thrived with Spagnuolo. Absolutely thrived with Spagnuolo. And instead, you got Dexter Lawrence now fighting it out. Wink Martindale, who's a guy that blitzes from all weird directions at that point the last couple of years. And, let's be honest, again, hasn't really produced double-digit, sack guys and guys that are dominant defensive linemen and stuff like that, unless they're run-stopping, plug the middle kind of defensive tackles. And now Shane Bowen, who no one really knows what the hell to think of him. And let's be honest, half the Giant fans want him gone after 1 year. So Dexter Lawrence, to me, has just done a whole lot more with a whole lot less. And I give him a lot of credit for that. And for that reason, I do think he is the best defensive tackle in all of football. I can understand and not hate when people say Chris Jones, though. I get it. He's been a very good player, and I'm not trying to take away from him in the process. It's a splitting hairs kind of scenario. And when I'm splitting the hairs, I'm looking at the follicles nearby. And that's the difference there. So to me, it's got to be Dexter Lawrence. All right, guys, we're going to pay the bills real quick, and then we'll be right back in just a minute there to go ahead and finish up the last couple of segments here for you guys today.
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2 Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army and for taking the time out to support the show.
All righty, guys. Now, Jay, you can help me if you can see something different than I can see. But real quick before you go on the next one, again, those who missed it earlier, Jay gifted 5 memberships there to the show for people that are in the chat room. I know we got 10 people on YouTube right now alone watching, plus people over in Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, all kinds of places like that as well. So if you haven't already and you want to take advantage of his generous gift there, go ahead and pop into YouTube if you're not already in it to get that there. Or if you're in YouTube, Jay, like I said, let me know if I'm pitching something for you that it's already been taken up there. I can't see on my end. But again, thank you very much for doing that, man. All right. Let's get into the next next topic here for us to talk about here. And before I do that, real quick, I should also give you a heads up. While the bills are being paid there on there, I went ahead and called Rob real quick to find out where his gluteus maximus is, to put it nicely. He's 7 minutes away from his house, so we'll see if he ends up being able to pop on for the very end of this year. But hopefully he can. He's trying to. All right. So next bit we got to go over here is the trade rumors are flying with a certain player, and the Giants just keep on getting mixed in with him like crazy. And quite frankly, to me, it's a little insane, but the rumors are out there, so we're to talk about there. And the question is, should the Giants trade for Kyle Pitts? And I'll give you the shortcut version of mine. No, but let me tell you why real quick here. What's getting everything going on? So this first off is for CBS Sports. He said, are the Giants in a position to pay for immediate help? They may be short on salary cap space, but Pitt's appeal at age 24 is that he could also stick around for the long term. Head coach Brian Dable would surely be okay with pairing the big man Malik Neighbors, giving Russell Wilson an added safety valve for an average offense sorely lacking secondary playmakers over the last few years. Assuming this link-up would extend beyond 2025, Pitts' arrival would also bode well for Jaxson Dart, the presumptive quarterback of the future. Yeah, guys, I'm good. Like, often in my head, I go back and forth on whether or not I want a player. I want absolutely nothing to do with Kyle Pitts. Be very clear with that. I'd rather have Gabe Davis. That's how far off I am here on this take here they had. First off, here's the numbers for him. Last year, 15 games, 47 catches, 602 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Now, that's about what he's been averaging for his career, guys. So, he had just over 1,000 yards his rookie season. He had 350 yards his sophomore, 667 his third year, and now, like I said, 602. So it's about what he's been averaging. And, I see you there with Jay saying Theo. I mean, Theo Johnson is where it's at. You drafted the kid. So why would you go ahead and put him there and then go, you know what, a year later, well, I'm just going to get somebody else? That just, to me, doesn't make any sense. Theo Johnson, I thought, looked a lot better as the year progressed. I'm curious to see what he can do in his second year. Now, is he the answer long-term at tight end? I don't know. But I don't think Kyle Pitts is. Kyle Pitts is basically a slot receiver, guys. That's what he is. Do we really need another slot receiver? I know Dable loves having that kind of player. And I think that's definitely a player that he would enjoy working with. Don't get me wrong. Kind of like what he was hoping to get out of, Darren Waller a couple of years ago. But you got to give Theo Johnson the chance to develop. You really do. And Kyle Pitts has already had 4 years. Hasn't shown much. Now, if you want somebody to take a reclamation project, I'm not saying Kyle Pitts is not an NFL player. And I'm not saying somebody shouldn't potentially trade for Kyle Pitts. But from all accounts, the Falcons are asking for a whole lot. They're not going to give him away for nothing. Not that any team should ever give a player away for nothing. But on top of that, when have the Giants been the place for reclamation projects, guys? Like, can you name me the last player that, like, oh, this guy has been working out since he got drafted? He should go to the Giants. They can fix that. No, it's been the reverse. It's been the reverse. The Giants draft players, and then they go somewhere else and succeed. So why we all of a sudden go, oh, well, the Falcons couldn't get this guy going. We should get him. No. That'd be horrible. You're giving up a top pick, and then on top of that, like I said, you're stifling the growth of Theo Johnson before you get a chance to see what you got in him. Oh, and by the way, you're going to pay him money too. By the way, he's $10 million. You have to give up at that point in cash. There, his cap hits 10.9 to be exact, and it's all salary. So 100% of it is gone the second you trade for him. Assuming there's no restructure and the Falcons agree to take some of that on, why would they? Assuming there's no extension, which again, why would you extend somebody you haven't played for yet? So, yeah, I want not a single piece of Kyle Pitts unless the asking price goes way down and he's willing to take a pay cut. That's the only way I'd be okay with it. Where if he goes, they go, we really want to get rid of Kyle Pitts. We just want to move on. Here's take him for a 4th round pick. Then yeah, I'm okay with that. And he's going to go down like $4 million. Done. Otherwise, no. Why stifle him? I'm just, yeah. I'm not. This is not a move I'd be interested in any way, shape, or form. Jay says he's had some horrific quarterback play most of his career. Yep, which means he would fit into the Giants probably. Mac, the Giants fan, what's up, man? He says that's a pass for me. He's been a disappointment considering his hype coming out of college. Yeah, that's definitely definitely true. I mean, I try to think otherwise. It's sad. I mean, but nail on the head. Jay says he was amazing in college, though. Exactly. He says he had a good rookie year and suffered through Mariota and Ritter. Yeah. Again, hasn't had good quarterback play. I get it, 100%. But can we really say that Theo Johnson had it last year? I mean, Theo Johnson, let's see here, 12 games. Let's see. I'm trying to see real quick what he averaged per game. 27.6 yards per game. Kyle Pitts, let's see here, 43.5. So, decent percentage-wise, but it's not that much of a difference. Ooh, 15 yards extra. Let's go pay a guy $10 million. Like, really? That's just absolutely insane. And Ronald says, I agree with you completely. Give the guys we drafted a shot. Hell's yeah. Like, seriously, you can't draft a guy last year knowing he's a project, because we all said he's a project. We all said he's a project. You get a guy, you give him a season where you don't even use him for like the first third of the season, basically. Let him like develop slowly, which I'm okay with. You know, in the grand scheme of things, getting him develop in general is more important than throwing him out there the first couple of games and trying to make him part of it there. But yeah, like, to me, like I said, you got to give him a shot. Now, if Pitts becomes a free agent of the year and the Giants give Theo Johnson a chance and they don't like what he does this year, that, yeah, what the hell? But bring him in if you want to bring him in. But understand he's not really a tight end. Like, I know people call him a tight end. He technically plays tight end. He's about as much a tight end as Darren Waller was. That's why I said it's an interesting comparison with those two, because that is a flat-out slot receiver tight end. Does not block. Does not like contact. Does not play the way that you would think there. That's for sure. Deb says Chris Bisignano is getting high on Fedone. Says to keep an eye on him. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, but the problem with him is not his talent. It's his knees. Even if hypothetically he pans out this year and he's a good tight end, he's one knee hit away from being done. It's where he's at. Now, that knee hit may never come, don't get me wrong. But until he shows for a couple of years he's healthy, I can't count on him. That's just where I'm at. And like I said, I really wish the best for this kid because he was so highly touted coming out of high school. I feel bad for him. I really do. And hopefully he creates himself a role in this team. I really do hope that. I mean, besides the fact that he's a Giant, I root for every Giant. Just the story behind him. Again, coming from where he came from, getting two, ACL tears, the same knee. I mean, it's rough. That's a rough thing. I mean, he's probably watching what's going on with some of these younger tight ends that are already in the league, going, God damn, that could have been me. But instead, he's getting drafted in the 7th round. I feel bad for him. Jay says, they come here to die, not to revive their career. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, what Giant is like? Good guy's coming to the Giants to revive his career. Except maybe Isaiah Hodgins. Probably the only guy I can think of off the top of my head the last couple of years. He says, yeah, I'm thinking 4th or 5th. That's exactly where I'm at. I think that's fair. An early day 3 pick is realistic. He says, people said Tibbs for Pitts. That's laughable. That's not really laughable. That's point blank franchise malpractice. That's franchise malpractice. If somebody even would suggest that, that just tells you they have no clue what the hell they're talking about when it comes to football. And I try not to take those kind of deep stances like that, but I'm going to do it this one. If somebody legit says that we should trade Kayvon Thibodeau for Kyle Pitts, they flat out don't know football. It's just there's no in or buts about it because that is so horrendous. It's not even funny. First off, you got edge rusher, which is an extremely valuable position, and you're going to give it up for a tight end. Now, both of them have underwhelmed as compared to what they were supposed to be coming out of college. So I get people are going, oh, here's a guy who hasn't worked out, a guy who hasn't worked out. Flip-flop, here you go, all fixed, good to go. Especially since the Giants do need secondary weapons potentially. Though I still think Wandale, Slayton, I think we got, guys that are just as good, if not better than Pitts. But, I can see where you want another weapon on there. And Kayvon Thibodeau would be the best pass rusher the Falcons have. But again, the Falcons have their own problem. They put Matt Judon in coverage like a third of his snaps last year. It's just morons if you do that kind of thing. He says guys like Pitts are luxuries. We need to build more inside, unfortunately. Correct, 100%. He says bad ACL tears, not just the clean, easy ones. Yeah, like I said, it was also the same knee. Again, that's he's one hit away for Fedone is, and I really wish hope the best for him. I'm hoping he just gets some highlights before that gives out. It's got to give out. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm just trying to be realistic. Like he barely made it through college, and point blank, his head coach said at Nebraska, Matt Rule, that they want him to come out before he gets hit again and never gets a chance to sniff the NFL and get some money out of it. That tells you a lot right there when the head coach basically says that. So, yeah, like I said, But Theo Johnson needs the time to develop. Don't go get another tight end. Give Theo Johnson a chance. So, all right, got a couple more things to go over here with you guys. So, listen, I thought this story is going to be done with. We did a story a little bit a while ago after the draft. So this would be the last time we ever mentioned this, but apparently Dion won't shut up. So now Dion is talking about the Shedeur Sanders meeting. So since it does involve the Giants, we're gonna talk about it. Obviously, during the draft, Todd McShay said Shedeur didn't have a great interview with Brian Dable in a private visit. An install package came in, preparation wasn't there for it. He got called out on it. Didn't like that. Brian didn't appreciate him not liking it. You all heard that story by now. Deion Sanders talks to SI. And I don't know why. Because it's a month later, guys. Like, let's move on. Deion Sanders, 1 month later, though, ripping that Band-Aid off and says, when you sit up there and say something like he went into a meeting unprepared, like, dude, Shedeur Sanders, who has had 6 different coordinators, who has still functioned and leveled up every time we brought someone new in, and you're going to tell me he was unprepared? You're going to tell me he had on headphones? Anybody who knows my son understands he's a professional. He's going to go into a meeting with headphones on. Y'all, come on now. Like, what? Why is he even talking about this a month later, guys? Like I said, I almost feel ridiculous. I legit was like on the fence. Do we include this in the stories today? It's a month later, Dion. Get over it. And if anything, Dion's got to understand this is part of the issues people have with Shedeur. Shedeur has his own set of issues, don't get me wrong. But this BS from Dion talking about it a month later is part of the problem. And I get it. He was asked about it. SI is going to talk about it. Everybody's going to talk about it for a little bit there. But the proper response is not to go into it and say people are ridiculous for reporting this. The proper response is to say, listen, the draft is over. My son's a Brown. He's looking forward to being a Brown for a long time and succeeding in the NFL. And then you shut up. That's what you do. Again, I know Deion Sanders is not that personality. That's not how he functions. He can't help but speak his mind. And that could be a lot of entertainingness there. But it's time to move on. It really is. And, I'm glad for Shiloh, who went and got an agent and has kind of backed off a lot of that stuff. He's actually a Tampa Bay Buccaneer now. And now he's on social media doing restaurant tours of the Tampa area and stuff like that too. And, it seems like a very nice kid. He's been going into restaurants and talking about local spots there. Whenever he does, you see him on camera, ask, is it okay if I record here? We're doing a YouTube thing and everything. Like, respectful. So I'm not trying to say the Sanders family is horrible. I'm not trying to trash them. I'm just saying you're not doing any favors whatsoever, Dion, by bringing this up a month later and ripping that Band-Aid off. Let it be. Because you know what? It's not just the Giants that wanted nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders. The ones who didn't want to do with Shedeur Sanders are 32 teams. The one that took him had already taken a quarterback before him. Obviously, he did something wrong. I mean, I get it. Like, as we, see, No Name says he's just defending his son when asked the question. It sounds stupid. I'm sure his son wouldn't do that. It does sound stupid. I'm sure his son wouldn't do that. Listen, if his son wouldn't do that, he would have been drafted much quicker. I don't know exactly what happened. None of us do unless we're in the room. But there is so many different half stories and stories that came out about the way Shedeur Sanders handled himself, that he handled himself incorrectly. That's quite obvious. That's all that boils down to it. So, like I said, to me, that's just insanity, but it is what it is. A month later here. Guess what, though, guys? There he is.
I did it. I made it. Look at me. I'm here.
You're back from the Parkway.
Yeah.
He did it to Parkway, guys. It was spectacular.
Yeah, I love New York.
billboard charges you as you go through the parkway, not like one at the beginning and you're done. Like each time, every couple miles, here's a spot.
Yeah, pretty much.
Every time I go to Jersey, it's worse and worse, that parkway. It's like, let's just go add more toll booths. Wouldn't that be fun?
Pretty much. And it keeps going up too. It's now, I don't know what the tolls were last time, but if you're going over south of like Seaside, it's $1.10.
Oh my god!
Getting it off like a brick, it's $85. If you're up towards Eatontown, it's $2.30.
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely,
yeah, I love it.
Absolutely crazy.
Oh, New York's awesome with the congestion tax too. You go like north or south of Central Park, they're paying you like $20 or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's like absolutely insanity that every time I go there, it's more and more. Jay says, "How are the women reacting to that fancy shirt, Rob?"
Oh, they loved it. They thought I was Cuban.
Between that and the beard getting a little scraggly, it's like he got abandoned at a Mexican bar.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Hey, real quick as well, I just want to give people the heads up because Rob, you missed this earlier. Jay was kind enough to gift 5 memberships to our show here on YouTube.
Ooh.
Yeah, which again I didn't even know was an option before now. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't even know they did that option.
Appreciate you, man.
The membership thing here. But we did have 5 people already take him up on that offer. So again, thank you very much for that, Jay. That's awesome. So Big Blue in the Bronx, Bookend Tackles, Ghost Dogs, Big Talk. I'm getting old. I'm having trouble seeing things here. Not the Gazarian and Hungry Kev, all now members as well. So ODJ would say things like this.
Yeah.
And listen, he says that in jest. It's funny. I got to ask you, Jay, because you're as sarcastic as we are. Do people take you the wrong way sometimes? Because I wonder sometimes when he comments things like, does he think things? Or like, do people like read his comments and go, oh my God, this guy must hate the show. And it's like, he's just sarcastic like us. It's just the way it is.
I love it.
No Dave says, Roberto looks like he's about to sell me a vacuum cleaner.
They suck in the best way possible.
I would say more like maybe like not a vacuum cleaner, like a magazine subscription. Like one of those
ones. You
update
your
like,
Sports Illustrated?
You sign up for a year, but they still send it anyway month after month because they just want the subscriber numbers for their advertisers. All right, Rob, you came in perfect timing here because we got 2 topics left. 2 topics. So we got 2 more to go here, guys. We're going to talk about OBJ now. A minute ago, we talked about Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders, and I was like, I can't believe we're bringing this up. I cannot believe we're bringing this one up. Like, are you kidding?
Crazy.
Me? Talk about letting sleeping dogs lie. That is apparently is not an option. As OBJ publicly says, he never wanted to leave the Giants,
but bashed everyone in the Giants. Makes sense.
Basically. So he was on CBS's coverage of the UEFA Championship League final and said, I never, ever wanted to leave the New York Giants. The reason you had heard me talking about what was going on was because I was pissed because where I came from in college, if you lost 1 game, our season was over. Yeah. I mean, why are we bringing this up?
Yeah. The bygones be bygones.
You know, it's funny because like for years the Giants, and I think all teams fans do this to a certain degree. So I'm not trying to single us out. It's just what we deal with. So we're gonna talk about this for a minute. I feel like players leave the Giants and big name players leave the Giants, and we kind of harp about them for a while. Like we do. Like, let's be honest, we've been harping about Saquon now for a year and a half. You know,
covering Manning.
You know, yeah, whatever. Hoping the jinx turns on again. Oops. I hate like rooting against somebody's eagle. I can't help it. I don't hate him personally, but I hate the uniform he's got on. So, but you know, again, we harp on those things. Like we're still harping about Eli Manning. Like Eli Manning walks on water, according to us now. When he was a player, you know, we were like, there were still people who always disliked him his whole entire time there.
Yeah. So Eli or Liz showed up.
Yeah, like this is like we just harp on things as fans, and for years we harped on OBJ. I can't let that OBJ go. Oh, Gettleman said I didn't sign him to trade him. First off, let me again reiterate: he meant it. We didn't sign him to trade him. OBJ forced our hands because he kept acting up, so we traded him. That's what he meant to say.
Yeah.
He just didn't say the whole damn thing.
Pretty much.
That's what he meant. Like, and I do believe it. I believe he signed him to one long term. Mara and Tish both said that. But anyway, let me remind real quick, everybody, why OBJ left. If he wanted to be a Giant for life, here's an idea: shut the hell up and don't talk trash about our quarterback. Like,
stop pissing.
I mentioned before. You go. Sorry, I'm passionate. I'm getting fired up.
Let's say. Stop pissing on the goalposts. Stop losing fights to kicking nets. Like, come on, man. Like,
the Josh Norman incident was embarrassing as hell. Right? I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous. But my biggest thing, and again, we talked about it a minute ago, how fans were kind of always on the fence that people didn't like him, and there's a little bit of revisionist history with Eli, because Eli always had people that just didn't like him when he was playing. Point blank. Let's call it what it is. But for OBJ to talk trash about Eli Manning, that's insanity. Absolutely insanity. And that's what he did right before they traded him. So remember, he sat down with ESPN. I want to remind everybody this because this is what he said. This is a direct quote. He said, I feel like, and he's talking about Eli Manning, I feel like he's not going to get out of the pocket. We know Eli's not going to run it. Can he still throw it? Yeah. It's cool catching it shallow and trying to take it. But I want to go over the top of somebody. I want to be the best I can. I don't feel like I'm given the opportunity to be the very best that I can be. I feel like I could score every quarter if given the opportunity. I feel those numbers could be double or triple that they are right now.
Yeah.
You publicly bashed a guy who brought 2 Super Bowls to this team.
Yeah.
Absolutely scandalous. Oh, and by the way, a guy who was not just that. Like, I know there was some comments about Rodgers before. This is a guy that his teammates loved. This is a guy that the ownership loved. This is the guy the city itself loved as best you can. Like, if you want, again, there was always people that disliked Eli his whole career. But let's be honest here. If you want to talk about the biggest people in the last 30, 40 years, as far as New York sports, Eli's up there. Like, he's probably 100%. Up there with Derek Jeter as being like one of the biggest icons of that time period. Like, that's how high up he is. Don't bash him. And we're going to do our list, like I said, in a minute here, of top 10 Giants in the last 25 years. Let me just say this. When it boils down to it, your personality and how you are as a teammate doesn't always come out public. And unfortunately, we talk about the best players of different generations and stuff like that. That's something that matters. How you are as a teammate, how you are in the locker room, how you are to your teammates. Do you lift them up when they need to be lifted up? Do you bash them whenever you're not succeeding at the level you want to succeed at? That's the problem with OBJ. It was a me thing. And listen, he was a kid when we had him here with the team. Let's be honest in that. And I'm hoping he matured, but let's remember a couple of years ago, the whole plane incident and all that stuff. I don't think he ever will. I think it's just his personality, to be honest. Now, that being said, ironically enough, I actually wouldn't mind if the Giants signed it or bringing him into camp for a minimum deal, just for the fun of it. It'd be something fun to watch. It'd be fun. Yeah. No, it'd be fun to watch. It would be fun to watch. But let's be honest, the little bit he showed when he was in Miami, he's probably done. And I think that's what it is he's now reminiscing and he's going, what could have been? Because the guy, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I can pull him up just as easily, but I think he had about 5,500 yards when he got traded away by the Giants. And I think he ended up like 7,500 for his career. Let's take a look, see how close I am. Okay, with the Giants, 54.76 was his yardage. He's now at 79.87. I wasn't far off.
Such a shame.
Yeah. I mean, he was a Giant for 5 years, guys. So basically 1,100 yards a season. And in the 6 years since then that he's played, out of the 7, because nobody even signed him in 22, of the 6 years since then, he's only had 1,500 yards.
And he did what, 400 shy 400 when he went to the Super Bowl with the Rams.
With the Rams, he had a really good game in the Super Bowl before he got hurt.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked about it. It was just shy of 400 yards overall for that 7-game stretch. I think it was like 375.
305 actually.
Yeah.
At 305, but 5 touchdowns. That's somebody harped on after that because he had a lot of touchdowns. He was also a second receiver, but
Yeah. So
I just, like I said, I'm done. I feel like he's gone. And what we got out of the deal, keep in mind, is Dexter Lawrence.
Yep,
Dexter Lawrence is only a Giant because of that trade. Now, I'm going to say this, and I don't think most of you all could have said this a couple years ago when we made that trade. Do you really think the Giants lost this trade? Looking back at it now. Because
no.
what I'm about to say is correct. When this trade got moved and made, people
everyone
flipped out and
cried
said, we lost this, we got fleeced. The Giants won that trade point blank because of the fact that we got Dexter Lawrence. We talked about it before. PFF made him this number 2 defensive tackle in all of football. I'm saying point blank, he's still number 1.
At least in my heart.
No, because again, I said during the show earlier before he came on that because he doesn't have the same supporting cast that Chris Jones has, he doesn't have the same defensive coordinator in his Spags that Chris Jones has. Because of that, I'm going to give him the notch over it, even though they're very close and it's splitting hairs. Anyway, I wanted the quick synopsis on that. But that's where I have it at. Like, we won. We made the right move. And the fact that he's still causing issues, like as far as just
multiple
putting
other
himself
teams
on the news and trying to do everything he can. And like I even heard he asked for his release in Miami last year. 9 games in and 9 catches, 55 yards. He's done.
Yeah,
he's done. And I wish he could have been OBJ that just shut up and caught the damn ball. Like this is like they say Keyshawn's book back in the day, to shut up and throw me the damn ball.
Yep.
Like this would have been shut up and just catch the damn ball. It had to be about him. It had to be. And you know what? The Giants moved on. They moved on and got extra out of it. They got Jabril Peppers for a couple of years. They got Dexter Lawrence. They won the trade. And I see some of you guys in the comments saying we lost because of the money, but
we would have had to pay one of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I get it, but I'd rather lose out on the money we lost on trading OBJ and move on before it became more of a headache, because he would have been worse and worse.
Yep.
So, like I said, that's where I'm at with that. All right, we got one last topic here, guys. Again, I thought it's 2025 now. We've now had 25 years in this millennium. If you count 2000, I don't know. Should people count 2001? It's been 25 years of the 2000s.
Ooh, a quarter of a century through all.
So I thought it'd be kind of fun to the top 10 players of the first quarter of this century. Now that we're a quarter in. So, number 10, O.C. Umenyiora. Like, really fun player to watch. Like, I think he'll probably always be remembered for that Eagles game. You know what I'm talking about. It's like anytime he went on the field, he's got a sack. That's what it just felt like. I mean, the guy was just unbelievable. Only had 3 years over 10 sacks, though. That's the crazy part. Like, I remember him being just such a beast for a while. And one year he got half his sacks against the Eagles, I felt like. But, it just, like I said, it was a really, really big part of those rings, obviously. And like I said, just a really good player overall. I'm trying to remember how many he have in the Eagles game as it was. I wasn't even participating. 6 sacks. Yeah, 6 sacks.
I was going to say 5.5, but
I thought it was. He had 13 on the season, by the way, guys. Insanity. Number 9. Chris Snee. Chris Snee. Now, this guy is probably the best offensive lineman in the last, probably since like Rosie Brown. It feels like maybe go with that kind of time frame. Underrated again. First off, came into a really weird scenario because he happened to be dating a girl at the time he got drafted that was Tom Coughlin's daughter. Like, you think Tom Coughlin was rough on people? Try dating his daughter and imagine how he'd be. Yeah, besides being a 2-time Super Bowl champion, first team All-Pro one time, 2-time second team All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, and obviously all-rookie team winner back in 2004 as well. That's, like I said, a hell of a damn good player. And to be honest, I kind of felt like he could have still played a little more just based on how he was as a player if he hadn't retired. You know what I didn't even realize, by the way, to we're looking the stuff up on him? You know where he's from?
Jersey?
Edison, New Jersey.
Ooh.
I had no clue he was so close, the local hero. So, and yes, as Jay says, he is super skinny right now. He is like half the man he used to be. And like I said, does work with the Giants now. He's a scout. He was a scout with the Jaguars. Was an analyst with Boston College for a couple of years. So he's still technically a Giant. Once a Giant, still a Giant.
Always a Giant.
So, all right. Number 8, Justin Tuck. So, oh gosh. What's going on, No Name, with this? Speaking of sacks, it takes a guy with a huge sack to go after the head coach's daughter. Yeah, well, in all fairness,
you can ask her.
In all fairness, he only had about a 3% chance of having to be coached by her dad. So, you never know.
It's true.
That's I'll say it takes some sacks to actually go ahead and purposely draft the guy who's dating your daughter. Like for Tom Coughlin's side too, that's a little crazy, right?
Make Thanksgiving dinner very awkward for his daughter.
Seriously. Anyway, Justin Tuck, who was a Giant from 05 to 13 there, first team All-Pro in 08, second team All-Pro in 2010, 2-time Pro Bowler, and point blank, a guy that was just a lot of fun to watch, guys. I think he was definitely one of those players that we all got a little sad when he left. Like, it was time, don't get me wrong. Like, he was definitely not the same player, he was to a certain degree. You can tell he's starting to slow down a little bit. Even though he had a really good last year with us. He had 11 sacks, but you can tell it's just a slight step starting to go. And the Giants knew he was along for the course and went to the Raiders to go end his career where most people go to die, and had 2 years there and didn't do much there. 6 sacks in those 2 years. But this is a guy who had 4 double-digit sacks, years in his career there with the Giants. Again, part of both of those Eli Manning Super Bowl years there. Like I said, just a hell of a player. Number 7, player I had to look up to even see if he played in this time period, to be very frank with you, because I just said top last 25 years. This guy squeaked on in. In. Jesse Armstead.
Oh,
a little bit of an old school guy here to some degree, so some youngins may not remember him too much there. He actually still works on the Giants as well. Another guy, like, you see him in the background a lot when he's on, when the Giants are on the sidelines or even sometimes in draft rooms and stuff like that. He'll be there. But really, really underrated player, guys. He was an 8th round pick back in '93. Yeah, 8th round. That's a little crazy. First team All-Pro in '97, 2-time second team All-Pro in '99 and 2000. He played till 2001, so he technically qualifies. 5-time Pro Bowler. And I feel like this is a guy that for some reason, and I get it, we got a lot of great linebackers in Giants history, a lot of them. But for whatever reason, Jesse Armstead never seems to get the love. And I get it, like he played on teams that, quite frankly, sucked. I just really feel like that's the biggest thing is that the teams didn't win when he was there. And that's unfortunate because he's kind of taking the brunt of that. But if you go from 1997 to 2001, pure dominance, guys. Absolutely pure dominance. And like I said, really good player. Loved watching him play when I was younger there. Very happy to see that there. Now, I'm going to give somebody a spot that I really, really don't want to. And we talked about him just a minute ago. And there was a lot of on the fence about him without to put him on here. But I'm going to put him on here. Because of just purely how dominant he was. This is probably the biggest dominant stretch of any offensive player for the Giants that I've seen in my entire time on this earth. 42 and a half years now. Like a child at that point, doing the half. But it is Odell Beckham. 5 years, guys, he's been on there. And when he was on the field, you knew where he was at all times. And that's because you knew that when he was on the field, he was getting the ball. And he was going to do something with it. How many times do you a 5-yard slant route, he go take it for 30 yards? It happens all the time. All the time. So we're going to put him on there. We just talked about him not too long ago, so I don't want to harp on the OBJ thing, but we're going to put him on there. But I thought it was also appropriate to put this guy ahead of him. Amani Toomer.
Oh, well, he had a very long stint with the Giants and is one of the best receiver that the Giants have had.
The best.
Sir!
Because this guy, point blank, is the best Giant ever wear a Giants uniform. Like, I know be a lot of OBJ people that would sit there and say that. But,
yeah,
it's kind of like, would you rather have Babe Ruth or Hank Aaron? Like, Toomer was never the best receiver in the NFL. Was never.
Never.
By the way, when I say that, he also never even got a Pro Bowl. Never. You kind of remind, for those who are maybe not old enough to remember or seen Amani Toomer play, I'm going to throw it to you this way. Amani Toomer was Scary Terry.
It's a pretty fair. Like he's not the best guy out there. Listen, when you do fantasy football, is he the top 10 receiver in your league? No, but he's a guy you consistently can count on to always put up the yards.
Yeah. I mean, and he would do about 1,000, 1,100 yards or so in his heyday and his prime part of his career there. And he would never be the guy that you'd sit there and go, he's going to go 1,500, 1,600 yards this year. He's going to be the best receiver in all of football.
Yeah. But it was like Mike Evans, but that's good.
Mike Evans a little bit more in the consistency because he's got 1,000 yards for now 10 years.
Oh, almost 11, isn't it now?
11, whatever it was. He just broke or tied the record with Jerry Rice, which that in itself tells you how good he is. But Amani Toomer went from 1999 to 2003 straight with over 1,000 yards. Had 5,731 yards in those 5 seasons alone. So for those who keep on saying about OBJ being better, because I've heard that plenty of times.
OBJ was definitely more dynamic. That's very
100%. That's why I'm saying I'm going to include him on the list because of the dynamicness, because of what he brought. Yeah. He was the face of the Giants those 5 years. Like, it's hard not to put him on the list. I hate to say it because I really don't want to put him on the list because of the attitudes.
Yeah.
But, Amani Toomer was a better player. And he doesn't nearly get the respect that he needs to as the career leader in receiving yards of the New York Football Giants. That's what he is, guys. Not OBJ. Amani Toomer, 9,497 yards and 54 touchdowns, guys, in 13 years. So, like I said, I think it's time to give a little more love to Marty Toomer when we talk about greatest Giants of all
Not
time.
the
That's for damn
Tuma,
sure.
it's a Manny Tuma.
Now, next guy I don't think really needs much introduction. Sexy Dexy himself, Dexter Lawrence, is going number 4. And listen, he could very easily climb up this list, though.
Yeah.
Like, I do think he has not peaked yet, necessarily. It's hard to just put him higher than the guys we have coming up here because these guys were like all-time greatest Giants of all times kind of people coming up here. But Dexter Lawrence is definitely number 4. Been an amazing, amazing player. We talked about him before. Again, I think he's the best defensive tackle in all of football, point blank, no matter what PFF says when they call him number 2. But I'm going to harp on that for a little bit. He's number 1.
First is worst, second's the best.
But yeah, Dexter Lawrence, number 4. Number 3, we're going to go into a guy that, again, you're going to hear some people talk about him personality-wise and all those kinds of fun stuff there. Again, I've met the guy a couple of times, never had any issues with him personally. He's always been nice to me the couple of times that I've gotten a chance to talk to him. Got to even, ask him some questions on another show that I was guesting on. It was very, very nice.
Ooh.
Tiki Barber.
Who does not need a barber?
Well, no, he's bald, so he doesn't need a barber at all.
Yeah,
Yes, Jesus, here comes the name drop. Tiki Barber. I mean, listen, guys. You want to talk about best running back of all time. Saquon Barkley, who, listen, he's just friend of the show. Listen, Tiki's not considered a friend of the show. He hasn't come on the show. He's welcome to come on the show anytime he wants, though.
So, Tiki, if you listen, man.
Yeah. Happy to have him on anytime. But Tiki Barber is underrated for what he did for the Giants. I really think that. And the crazy thing is, we talk about all the time, 30s when you go to die as a running back. Tiki Barber had his best years the last 3 years of his career when he was 29, 30, and 31.
Yeah, I think part of his greatness gets lost on his way out.
Yes, and that's a lot of what it is. And that's what killed him, I think, for Hall of Fame talk and all, which I'm going to say point blank, he should have gotten in the Hall of Fame. And I'm still not saying he's definitely done, but he should be in the Hall of Fame. The crazy thing is we've gone over this on the show before, so I don't want to harp on something we've done in the past. Go look at his numbers and look at Marshall Faulk's numbers as far as yards. There is the only difference between him and Marshall Faulk is Marshall Faulk played for 12 years. He played for 10.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, if he played 2 more years, he'd be a Hall of Famer. He did, as Ronald just said, as I was about to say it there, he retired too early. But listen, it was his choice, when to retire. He just decided he was done. Him and Coughlin did not get along as much as Coughlin definitely fixed his fumbling issues he had.
Yep.
But, again, look at what he did, though. 10,449 rushing yards. And then you go to the receiving side as well. Like, he was a new school receiver back before it was there. 5,183 yards. So the guy had 518 yards receiving and 1,044 yards rushing on his average for his career. Not a lot of players do it. Again, I hear you guys in the about who he was, the comments he said, which obviously weren't very nice about Coughlin and Eli. I get that he has some personal issues between him and his wife and somebody he left his wife for and all these kinds of things. Like, I'm not trying to say the man's perfect. I don't know him personally like that. I'm not going to try to judge him too much. We're just talking about what he did on the field. And point blank, what he did in the field was absolutely amazing. And as Jay also said, he returned punts too. He actually did return punts, including returning one for a touchdown even. So, like I said, amazing career that I think because of the personality issues, the way he left, because of other stuff there, like I said, his personal life, point blank, he probably not in the Hall of Fame because of that stuff and the leaving early. And he should be. His brother's in now too. Be the first twin brothers in the Hall of Fame. Could they just share the same bus? Would they make the same mold if that happened?
That'd be funny.
It'd be hilarious. Let's reuse the same exact one.
Just add a dipple here because he's got the little different dipple.
It just seems appropriate. All right, number 2. I think you guys already know his number 1 and number 2 is going to be. I don't think it's that necessarily that difficult to figure out. Number 2 is going to be Michael Strahan. Kadarius Toney, no?
Yeah.
No, Michael Strahan.
That's Kevin Boss.
4-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL sack leader, including getting the record for single-season sacks. Forced fumble leader in 2001. NFL 2000s All-Decade teams. Not only was he the best player of the Giants, but one of the best players of all time like that. Hall of Famer, Giants Ring of Honor. They retired his number. Again, 22 and a half sacks in a season. I know, listen, I know the last one, I know. Controversial. Gastineau's going to attack the show now. He's not a friend of the show. But yeah, like I said, it's absolutely amazing what he did as a Giant. And quite frankly, he could have continued playing. And I wish he had, but listen, he was 36 years old, 37 years old. The time he was just done. He was tired of doing it. He got to the point where he would purposely find ways not to even go to like training camps anymore. Like that's just what he did. But he had 9 sacks his last year, guys, and he still looked damn good. Like
he was just ready to replace Regis.
Regis. He didn't replace Regis. Oh, yes, he did for a while. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He's had so many stops in his career. I mean, that's the crazy part. His post-playing career. I don't know if he does like a TED talk to players of what to do when you're done, but he should. Point blank really should. Because absolutely amazing. Like go from Fox NFL to, that's right. He did with Kelly for a little bit there.
Yep.
And then, goes on to Good Morning America, decides that Michael and Kelly is too small for him, goes to Good Morning America, does all this stuff. I think, didn't he have like his own show on Fox for a little bit too, like a comedy sitcom show?
That probably.
I want to say he did, and I want to say it was like 1 year, but it was over. But still, he got a show.
Listen,
like it was an actual scripted comedy sitcom show, if I remember correctly. But again, amazing Giant, and a guy that does get enough credit. I'll say that, but absolutely amazing. All right, last one. The best Giant of the last 25 years.
Darius Toney.
And I bet you guys would not know who it is. It is the one and only Ron Dane. No. Of course it's Eli Manning. Like, do we really need to give a why? Like, point blank, the leader of this franchise for most of those 25 years.
The face of the franchise.
Playing from 2004 to 2019. Like, that's insanity. So 16 of the 25 years, he was the starting quarterback. And if it wasn't him, we sucked.
Yeah.
That's what it basically feels like. I shouldn't say that because Kerry Collins was the quarterback in the beginning of this millennium, and Kerry Collins had some good years. So I should take that back. I mean, we did go to the Super Bowl the very first year of this millennium.
Yeah, but that was also a very, very rough Super Bowl.
So it was a very rough Super Bowl. I remember that very well. I got my first piercing that night, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, yes. For those that didn't know, I was a walking pin cushion when I was younger. Rob remembers those days. We were talking about it at work today, ironically enough. I had, a half an inch in my ear, another one next to it, 2 more in my cartilage, industrial, 3 across my lobe, my eyebrow, my septum gauge out to a 6, my tongue gauge out to a 4, my labret, and I'll stop there. I'll stop at the neck for you. But yeah, as Jay says, piercings didn't see
cleavage.
Oh, now I got to show. You can see the hole. You can see in the video.
Ear holes.
Yeah, you can see the holes. That was the half-inch one. You can still see it. These are the things you miss if you're on the audio podcast. But yeah, like I said, guys, Eli Manning, clearly the absolute best Giant in the last 25 years. Obviously, holds every single career passing stat for a quarterback now in Giants history. Again, the architect of those 2 Super Bowls. It doesn't point blank. I think Giants now give him enough credit. like Giants fans. I think even the naysayers kind of stopped when he retired, especially when they got Daniel Jones. Like, oh damn, we had it so good we didn't realize.
Yeah, for how bad that could be.
But I think what it boils down to is he did it with such grace too, that he's got a lot of respect from fans nowadays as well for that. Like even like towards the end, like how many players do you think would have handled the benching with Geno Smith as well as he did?
Listen,
I would have been flipping out if I was him. As a fan, I was flipping out.
Yeah, I was. And listen, when he gave that post-game interview and you see that him fighting back those tears, man, I started sobbing for the guy. Like, you lost your job to Geno Smith. You lost the standing NFL record for most consecutive starts to Geno freaking Smith, who wasn't Eugene Esquire Smith at that point. He didn't have that resurgence. He was coming off the Jets. I am terrible. Jets cut me.
Yeah. And he's
Terrible.
still, Eli Manning, though, still also holds the single season most passing yards in a postseason record at 1,219 yards.
It's nuts.
Now, guys, that was 2011. They've had now 13 years to beat this record. And let's be honest, this is a modern day record thing. Like you see guys now, like when Eli first started playing, it was like, you hit 3,000 passing yards. Like that was like a thing. Now it's like you didn't hit 4,000. Like it's crazy. Well, obviously I'm making it, hyperbole here, but you're expected to hit 35, 3,000, 3,500 passing yards in the season. Unless you're Daniel Jones, we're just happy if you hit 15,000. I have to stop making Daniel Jones jokes, but that's what he was in the beginning. And then he developed as things progressed and got better and better, as far as more and more yards and more of a passing offense. No one's still touched that record, guys. All those years later, it's really amazing. I honestly, even when he broke it, I didn't think that was going to last very long. So again, Eli Manning, 4-time Pro Bowler, Walter Payton Man of the Year, 2-time Super Bowl, 2-time Super Bowl champion, point blank, Ring of Honor, retired jersey number, and no, you can't have it, Abdul Carter. No.
No.
But again, a guy who literally was the face of this franchise, point blank, and did an absolutely amazing job. It doesn't enough credit for what it takes to do that in this city for that long. I say this city while I'm living in Florida, by the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Today.
You know what I mean, though. So, all right. That concludes our top 10. We are going to give an honorable mention to Saquon Barkley. Because, honestly, if I had a number 11, he'd probably be number 11.
Yeah.
But, so we'll give him honorable mention. So that way nobody complains. Because we'll have Eagle fans probably complaining. Eagle fans are still complaining that we said that Jalen Hurts was the second best NFC East quarterback. Like, still they're commenting in that video complaining.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it. Like, seriously, get over it. Jaden Daniels is still the best quarterback in that division. I'm so sorry. It is what it is. But it's just so funny. I love the fact that we did something as an honest assessment, and it's pissing off the Eagles fans. It's great when you can give good, honest material and also piss off Eagles fans in the process.
Yeah.
Just absolutely amazing. So, all righty, guys. We're going to go ahead and call it a night now. Rob's been on for 20 minutes. He's tired now.
Yeah, it's past my bedtime.
So, guys, we'll be back on for you guys Wednesday, and at least I will. We'll find out if Rob is. Who knows? Maybe he'll just put up a loud shirt and a hanger and just call it a day, and we'll think he's there.
I might. Yeah, listen, I'm supposed to be in Long Island. Let's see what happens.
Upside down feather duster. So, I'm a jerk.
Boo that man. Boo that man.
No. Don't boo us.
No,
I got enough of that my whole childhood.
Let's talk about you, not us.
And that was just at home.
Someone say they're blown off the cells.
How many vacuums did you sell? He's asking. Jay's asking how many vacuums you sold today. Actually, with that shirt, I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna say not a magazine. I'm gonna say that you look like you were an escaped worker from Jurassic Park.
Listen, I'm not a khaki kind of pants wearer, but I wore khakis today.
Like, do you
I
have
look like Cuban? Like I should have had a Cuban cigar in my hands.
Do you have like a briefcase perhaps and a barbasol that twists down at the bottom that has random
Dino DNAs?
Right. Dino DNA. I never said that watching that movie. I'm like, why do they pick that voice of all of it? Like the guy who just got out of the bayou talking about Dino DNA. As Deb feels bad for you. Listen, Rob only takes a beating because he was late.
Hey, this shirt was the hot seller today.
The hot seller today. Damn, Jay is like ripping into you. Anyway, guys,
I go all natural.
Let's get going before Rob cries. Again, appreciate everybody for watching and listening as always. Again, Jay, thank you very much for that generous gift there. Yes. To everybody that got the membership there. And congrats to those who took advantage of it. Again, we'll be back again for you guys Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And oh God, no name says he's not late. He's early for Wednesday.
It's going to be staying here for the next 48 hours.
Anyway, we'll be back again Wednesday. As always, we are live on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, Twitch, and of course the new one, Kick, and of course Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. Oh, I gotcha. And then of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms. That's Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all the big ones there. And if you're listening, do me a favor, guys. If you're listening and you're on any platform besides Apple, especially, but it still applies if you're on Apple, hit the subscribe on there. I don't know what it is, guys. We get like 2/3 of our listeners come off of Apple. Like, for some reason, Spotify does not love us. They give us no love whatsoever. And I think because we don't use their platform for hosting, that's probably why. But we're not doing it. We're sticking to Buzzsprout. That's what we use because it gives you more things. It gives you more help just in case we get lost, which happens at times. So, especially, like I said, if you're on anything but Apple, do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe. Help us boost those numbers up there as well. Though, thank you guys who are on the audio. I feel like we never address the audio people enough because we are, even with going down in the off season to the 3 episodes instead of the 4 we do in the regular season, our numbers did not drop at all. So much appreciation to you guys for continuing to listen and for spreading the word out as well. Again, even though you're not part of the live show on the video, you're still part of the Goofball Army there. So I appreciate you guys there. Again, guys, we'll see you guys Wednesday night as always. Hold on. He said turn around. Every now and then I fall apart.
Turn around.
Brown eyes.
Brown eye? Oh, jeez.
Is that the lyric?
Isn't it Bright Eyes?
I thought it was Brown Eyes. I don't know. You know, maybe look up total clips of the heart words here. I don't know. And the scary thing is, no one stopped watching this. I can see this.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right, guys, we'll see you again, like I said, Wednesday night. If you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, that way you guys know that it's on there. Ring the bell if you're on YouTube. That's definitely the best way, because then your phone will alert you and annoy you until you finally start watching. Appreciate you guys as always, and as always, Giant fans, go G-Man! Go G-Man! I hiccup that. G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you.